What we would do is put it off as a PILT expenditure, and then, depending on what we allocate for PILT, that would be
Okay.
the best place for that to come from.
Okay.
If you put it into here, you're essentially making it a mills,
Okay.
and that would be 2 mills that would go to that.
Okay,
We just don't have the extra mills.
okay. So then what was this, on this revenue, the inter-fund operation? Is that just,
Interfund,
it's other financial sources? 38,300, 383,000, third page of revenue.
interfund. No idea.
You had 77,015, and then down to 14, then 12, and then this year you're actually 13. Well, it was actually budgeted 13, but we only received 12.
Operation, my only guess with that is it's related to the building project. We still have money in the Board of Investments interfund account, and that's about $22,000 that we're paying off. My guess is that's what this is,
Okay,
and this is the amount that we're paying each year perhaps,
okay,
but we really do need to clarify that with Debbie.
okay.
It could, yeah, I don't know. All I can do is guess at this point.
Okay.
And we'll lose that rent, 361,000. We'll be losing that this year.
The, that was on rentals and leases, right?
Right, and that's the Department of Revenue rent for their office space,
So we'll be losing that 76.64.
correct? Go down to 0.
Okay.
Most of the other stuff in here, did you have questions about it? Most of
No,
it
I
is
think I
from the
just-
state.
Yeah, I just moved, remember, like the state entitlement share, I just figured that might go up a little bit to 240.
That one is frozen. The legislature froze it this year.
So is it gonna be froze at this 318, 128?
Yep.
Okay.
They actually tried to cut it, and Harold Blatty and Mako stepped in and stopped that on our behalf, which was
So how
great.
long is that until the next session?
Right. Yeah, they
And-
used it for state,
And
to balance the
is-
state
is-
budget.
Is that the exact amount that we get from the state?
Mhm.
That's, then we disperse that out to the other, okay.
Yeah, and there's statute that says which departments, a lot of the special districts, like fire district, are supposed to get pieces of that. The road gets a section of that, public safety gets entitlement share. So we have kind of a formula that we disperse from that. Planning and district court are the two big ones. District court is almost entirely funded by entitlement share.
Okay.
The FDA retail food program, the $30,000 there.
That's not,
We will get, Julie's gonna put in for a $5,000 grant instead of 30.
and we didn't get the 30 last year, right? We didn't
Right.
get anything.
No,
Okay, so she's just gonna try to go for this year.
right. And my understanding is it's a step-up grant, so you start at the 5 and then you can go to the next grant, which is higher, and then the next grant, which is 30.
So when we go to state entitlements, we have a set formula for where certain amounts of money go a percentage of that, is that what we do?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So if we go to the expenditures, the only thing that that I added onto there was this, contract services, and I don't know if that's the right place for HR.
HR has its own budget, and, let's see, I think it's in the general fund, personnel services. So it's 410,800 on page 3,
Okay,
about halfway down. So that one will have to increase, have to double. And then we would show in revenue everybody's payment per employee. So $100 for full-time, $50 for part-time.
so every department puts in $100 per employee,
Per full-time
per
employee,
full-time.
and $50 per part-time, and $25 per seasonal or temporary. And that'll come up to about $6,800, and then we'll have to match that to come up with the 15,000.
Laura, I have a question. What was, could you repeat that so I know when I go back what I need to, where would I take that out of?
The HR,
HR?
because the price is now double from what we had last year, what we decided to do is to actually have buy-in from all departments. So each department, for every full-time employee that's 30 hours a week or more, will pay $100 into HR. For part-time employees, that's $29 a week or less, $50. And for seasonal or temporaries, $25.
Okay, so I'll need to find that out of a line item to pay, and that's, you're paying 100 or we're paying 100?
Each department, so you would pay per your employees. Mike for DES would pay 50, because you're part-time. The
Okay,
commission has 3, so we pay 300 into the HR fund.
What line item?
I don't know yet.
Or you designate?
For us, I would suggest contract services, 298. And that might be across the board, because it's for contracted services. So, yeah, I guess I would just say 398.
And that would be out of each one of these different, like, data processing would have one, elections would have one,
Correct.
records administration would have one.
Records administration,
Three.
yeah, they would have a few. So I think that's most of the clerk and recorder department.
Okay.
So planning is one. Legal services would be $400. Bears Trial is gonna come out of the general fund. Maintenance would be for next year 150. So yeah, you just go down based on employees. And no employee would be taken out of multiple departments, so when you have somebody that's split between 2 different departments, they would split that cost,
Okay.
yeah. So it's a shared burden.
So is the coroner's services, does that go, is that part of public safety then, or because we
Mhm.
have nothing, so that goes to public safety, not us, same one in the airport is their own?
Correct,
Okay.
yep. Yeah, we actually switched over, the revenue as well as the, whole object code for coroner to public safety.
So Public Health Services Administration would have one more to that? One person to contract services, right? And then Public Health Regs and Inspection, would that have one also? Because we got 3 employees in there, would you put them all under administration?
Public health, services and administration would be probably the, let's see, environmental health, yeah, that would be the health office, so those employees are actually funded by grants. So this fund in the general fund would be $100, that would be for the supervisor. And then the grants would pay for the WIC employee and the administrative assistant. And then environmental health would be 1 full-time and a part of the part-time based on a percentage because she's a shared employee of 3 different departments.
And environmental health is sanitation, right?
Right, yep. The contract that we have with Sarah would not be included because she's not really an employee.
Okay. And the same thing with the dental assistant, with the dental hygienist, she's a contract also?
Correct, yep. For public health, environmental health, so sanitarian, again, just to use it as an example, there's also 380, which is training services. So she could opt to take it out of either training services or contract services.
Okay.
And Debbie would probably be the best one to direct, which would be the better
Okay.
fit.
Laura, as a suggestion, check with Debbie. You may pay the contract from contracted services, but the departments probably should use an interfund transfer line item to keep things straight for the auditor. So check with her before you tell the department.
Sure. We have a lot that we share between departments, so I'm not sure that's an issue.
No, I mean,
It's not something that's been brought up by Bob in the past.
This is your first time, and the 820 line item might be more appropriate, but just whatever her verdict is on the bars account.
Yeah,
Is maintenance on here in general fund?
mm-hmm. Facilities administration, so 411230 on page 5.
So there was talk of pulling the 30 from public safety and billing that.
Correct.
So is that reflected in here anywhere?
No, not yet. That'll be reflected when Mike turns in his budget,
Okay,
and that'll be a savings for you guys. You'll kind of be responsible for that portion of maintenance for your department. So, what Mike is referring to is 30,000 that you guys were paying for, his assistant. That would no longer be. You would be more tracking his hourly time in your department. So it might be some savings there for you.
So they would like bill us or what?
No, you would bill. So it would be, this would be another shared employee. So he would work part-time for maintenance on this side of the house, part-time on maintenance on your side of the house. So his hours on this side of the house would be tracked here, and the hours on that side of the house would be tracked there. Yeah, so it might be an opportunity for some cost savings.
You still have the maintenance guys, it's just that we're not gonna pull the 30 out. You'll just have to, you'll have the 30 and then you'll have to bill it to the maintenance will essentially be a bill to maintenance that you would have to pay.
It's the same setup as the detective was a couple years ago, and that was a shared cost. Same idea. He's still under Mike for supervision. And each one of the departments, so again to maintenance, each one of the department heads will fill in all these line items and turn them into Debbie by the date that's specified in our memo.
Okay,
And then she'll gather all of those and bring those forward for us for a preliminary budget
okay.
hearing.
So this facilities administration maintenance, we have detention in here was budgeted for 7,000, but they've only spent 33.
Correct.
So that leftover, will that roll over into their budget?
Into whose budget? The maintenance
Will it
budget?
Will it roll back over into detentions to go into their budget?
It didn't come out of detention, so no, it's not gonna go into detention. This is the cost for detention maintenance.
Okay,
So that will stay here. If there's an agreement that that comes out, then certainly we wouldn't budget it, but we wouldn't charge
okay.
either. It would just be taken out.
I think we just use that mostly as Mike will, if he buys, parts or something, he'll submit it through Tammy. If I'm looking at the correct line item, so.
Okay.
Streamlines.
Yeah, if it's something directly for the detention center, and instead of coming out of his budget, he'll just give Tammy an invoice, and we pay for that out of that. I believe that's how that works.
So generally speaking, very generally, our expenditures should stay the same with the exception of the HR addition. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Generally speaking, yeah. For us, we didn't go over on any, well, yeah, we did. We went over on training services. Now, we'll need to put a little bit more in there because we'll have a new commissioner that will go through the MACO training. So that one should be increased a little bit. Some of those repair and maintenance services, that went over this year, but I don't think we need to worry about it since it was taking care of long-term issues with the fleet vehicles. Since we took care of that, there shouldn't be, that should be able to be, just lower this next year.
Our professional services went over, and is that HR?
Yeah, that's exactly what that is.
So that'll be addressed by
correct,
Total from departments.
yeah. I would think that we could keep that at the 7,000 and, with the match from the rest of the departments, that should cover it. Some that we're way low on, what we should do, in fact, you know what, let's go ahead and just start with, 199, which is our contingency. The others above that, Debbie does through the salaries.
Okay,
Contingency, we are the only department really allowed to have a contingency fund, and that was started years ago to help with matches for grants. And we will often pay the match depending on, you know, like, that's countywide. One great example is the growth policy, floodplain policy. We pay the match for that, and that's,
okay.
contingency is one of the places that comes from. So, we could keep it the same. We could come back and negotiate. Office supplies and materials,
Is that 5,000 contingency?
correct. So office supplies and materials, we're pretty low on that. I would suggest that we put in a 400 there. Bring it down just a little bit in the interest of saving 2%.
Okay.
Operating supplies, again, we're gonna have a new commissioner, and right now, that new commissioner will not have a computer, phone, or printer, so we'll have to buy those things for our new person. So I suggest 700 there, I know that's little, but we've done very well at buying refurbed equipment. I bought my own printer, I'm not suggesting that everybody do that, but I think we could share printers, and you've got that industrial one, and then a refurb computer, I think 700 is fine. And if we need a little bit more, we could probably find it in contingency, or one of the other line items.
Publicity and subscriptions were okay, huh?
Publicity and subscriptions, I suggest we reduce that. We're way low. We did 9,000, I think that would be probably fine. It's right in line with what we spent in 16 and 17 and 15. Less in one, more in one. And then the printing, I think we could cut that down. We're not doing the newsletter anymore. I think we could take that down $100.
Okay.
Postage, I think we're low. We were at 670, 404, 399, 352. Our current budget's 200. I think we should raise that to 400.
Does travel take in motel rooms also? Travel and motel?
Mm-hmm, yep. And that one should probably stay the same again, because we'll have a new commissioner. It would be good for them to go to the Mako conferences, to go to the Mako training, Mackers, the district meetings. In fact, Daryl, we're having district meetings next Monday, they're in Bozeman.
Yeah.
You wanna go, you are more than welcome to come with us.
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, I'll get you an agenda and let you know the time. I'm taking one of the fleet vehicles, so if you wanna carpool,
Mm-hmm, be great.
all right,
Yeah,
perfect.
Thank you. Mhm.
Yeah. So repair and maintenance, right above that, again, I don't think we're gonna need the same amount, so I think we could cut that by 100.
Okay.
Be good with that. Keep all the others the same. Training, we talked about increasing to 350. Contract services decreasing to 5,000. And if we did all of that, we would reduce our budget by 4694. Our 2% is 3788, So we're cutting an extra 1,000. And I don't think there's anything here that would really hurt from those cuts.
Everything above this, 199, everything above that is payroll expenses, right?
That is correct, yep.
Then we go to district court, publicity and subscriptions. Now, we were gonna stick the law library in there, that cost was 3,200, right?
I think it's just under, 32-ish.
Cause
think it's just
we had
under,
nothing
but-
in there last year, it was budgeted all last year.
That is actually Corey's. And I think the reason he forgot about it is because it's not under his budget. So that was something we talked about a couple weeks ago, is taking the law library and transferring that into the county attorney's budget, and then adding that money into his budget. So legal services, which is page 411110. Corey would be expected to cut his 2%, and then we would add law library and 3,200 to the budget on top of that. It used to be shared with district court, but it's been used since we got rid of, bound books for the law. It's been used more for that LexisNexis, which is more a county attorney. So that's why instead of having it under district courts, it makes more sense to take it to county attorney.
Okay. So this, everything up here, this is pretty much the end of our.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
action here.
Yeah. We'll have, Board of Health, Local Advisory Council, some of those, but yeah, this is really our big one. And then when we get everybody's, we'll mesh it all together and let loose the cuts or solidify cuts or cut more, depending on where we're at.
So, do we need to notify the library?
The school library or no? They should have been sent, Debbie will send the budget to them. They've probably been working on that now for about 2 months,
Okay,
at least. They're pretty good at sending back a letter. I expect we'll be about the same as we've been the last 2 years.
what about, where does Rocky Mountain Development fall in here?
They fall into a number of places, but their biggest input is with senior services, which would be, I saw it in our stack, page 10. So senior citizen meals and senior citizens TR is transportation. The TR, that helps, that's our match for Meals on Wheels. Senior citizen meals, at the top is the senior dinner club.
Okay.
And that's also a match. You'll see how little money is there. Carol is actually their employee. The volunteers who drive for the Meals on Wheels are actually under their program. But we have to match the federal program and then the state program. So it's kind of a three-way partnership with Rocky in the middle. As the spoke of the wheel, or the hub of the wheel. Last year, we gave a 3% increase. I would expect an increase, I don't know, did they mention anything about coming to the counties for any kind of a increase?
No, they haven't said anything. There was some discussion about paying off a loan to Lewis and Clark that they have money set aside for, but it's in an account that's not a ghost account, it's just an account that they have money into to pay back because they weren't withholding something. So they have a loan to pay back to Lewis and Clark County that they're paying. That's what the majority of the discussion was. Meals on Wheels is solid for this year. We don't know about next year yet. I believe there was some discussion about a slight increase for the Head Start.
Okay,
As far as the seniors went, there wasn't any discussion about any changes within that budget that I know of.
okay. From the Agency on Aging side, we okayed the state, the feds sent to the state via the Agency on Aging, which is kind of under Rocky, and that remained the same.
Okay,
No increase, no decrease. So one area of always concern and that needs to be of focus is juvenile transportation, which is right under senior transportation, so 2301. We generally put about $5,000 from PILT into that. Anything not spent will roll over to the next year. We didn't have anybody for a couple of years, and then this year we had somebody. We've gotten really lucky, but we have no assistance from the state for that. It's about $300 a day. And whenever anyone's sent to Great Falls, we have to pay it. And it can be a really big bill if it isn't a short stay.
so we stick that 5 in there, this 3290 would carry over,
Correct,
so we'd have 8290 in there.
correct,
Okay.
yep. And that way, if there is a need for, a couple of months' stay, it's a lot less of a hit if we have a kind of a capital improvement plan, a savings account.
And this other health centers and clinics, that was the amount of money that we had a couple weeks ago. We had a deal from the state about how much money we were getting into that
Which one?
for this capital centers, health centers and clinics, the alcohol.
Oh, yes, yep.
So what is this 410, 110 commissioners?
Federal mineral royalties, we get, there's 3 different funds, and I'm not an expert on each of the 3, but we get a certain percentage for mining in the county. So when we have any kind of mining going on that's hard rock, not Greymont, we actually get a percentage of that, and it goes into each of the 3 different funds. So in one fund, we can use that however we want for the county. On another fund, it can only be used after a mine has closed, and it's for rehabilitation or retraining purposes for employees. And then the last one, I think, is also a closed account, but it still bills.
We don't budget that because we never know what we're gonna get.
Correct, yep. And we are not a mining county anymore, so it's pretty minuscule. we've used it in the past to buy computers. So if we were to realize some income there, it's kind of considered more open as far as use.
So, and then this, under PIL, Commissioners, Utility Services. If we're gonna, we would take that out of there completely, and if we're gonna move extension out, that would come back, we wouldn't have that obligation. If we keep extension there, then we still have that obligation. We told her we would infill her budget to cover utilities.
Correct,
So that's a decision that we gotta make on extension,
correct,
and that's what all that money goes to.
yeah. And what we've done with other departments is they're responsible for their own utilities. When you're talking about 11 grand a year, that's an awful lot. I would suggest a cost share, a match type of program for that.
Okay, and then professional services, was that our HR? So the 7820?
Nope. Well, it might have been after we lost Michelle Quigley. So I'm gonna say at this point, I don't know.
Okay. And then contract services, that's the same boat.
Correct. Now, that one, if I'm not mistaken, is the law firm that we hired.
For Deep Creek,
Yeah, Murdo,
okay.
yeah.
So if Hinman goes to litigation, is that where that would come out? Would have to cover that cost for us? Would that be the county attorney, or would that we have to get a different lawyer for that?
That would be, we used to have, and we still should somewhere here, may not be in the general fund, but we used to have a litigation fund. And that was when, it was set up before my time, and it was for all the development. And the thought was, if we have a second Kavanaugh, a situation with the bankruptcy, we would need some kind of a fund to take from.
And I think that litigation, that's labeled as the Barris litigation case, so that's a separate fund
Correct.
outside of litigation. I have not seen a litigation, I haven't looked for it, but I haven't seen that in here anywhere.
Yeah, we haven't had it for a long time. What we did is we took $10,000 a year and put it into a litigation fund for just in case.
So would that be covered under our comprehensive insurance or not?
No.
Because our comprehensive insurance is with Mako, and they've already said they're not gonna cover that litigation.
Right, Mako doesn't cover land use, and it doesn't cover personnel if you don't follow HR.
Okay,
So that's why that's such a big deal, because that one can be a big hit.
so this, under that same one, grants and donations, we budgeted 233, but we only spent 16. Where was that supposed to go?
I think that was money set aside. Oh, this is a Strunk Pilt fund. So what that is, grants and donations is, I have a list here. Every year we give to the ambulance service, $10,000 to $20,000, saving up for a new ambulance. We put money into the airport, saving up for the redoing of the runway. CASA, court-appointed special advocate, the tree board. All of those things that we pay into. Oh, building maintenance is $60,000. that kind of stuff is what that is.
So
And
we-
it's
we
just
have-
all added together.
We still have a pretty good amount of that left over then, right?
Yeah.
That's not committed?
Yeah, and I know Debbie's a little bit behind in scooting some of those over, so I would say we're fairly close to that 233, even though it's not reflected here.
Okay,
She generally waits till the end of the year because that's when PILT comes in, although we make our determinations and spend it at the beginning of the year
okay.
with the budget season. What that is our liability insurance, the tree board, CASA, food pantry, the bridge CIP, the building CIP, ambulance, airport, and the MACO JPIA County Litigation Fund, is what
Okay.
that is.
So there is money in there for that litigation fund.
Yeah. I don't recall putting it in last year, but we might have.
So 521 interfund operating transfers out, we're 247. It's 52, 521,00820 transfers to other funds. We budgeted 247, but we transferred 285. What is that? It's on page 12 of 12.
That I don't know. We'd have to have Debbie to answer that. I have some guesses, but I don't know for
Okay.
sure. Interfund makes me think it's part of our intercap or, the city partnerships.
On the TV district on rent, 1688, that was in 14, but then last year it was just 250. So is the rent that we have with the expired lease with Flynn's, is that 250?
And it needs to be
And it gets
increased.
an increase of, I'll get that contract out today and take a look at it. That's gonna get an increase, plus we owe for 2 years, right?
Correct,
That haven't been paid.
yeah. Our legal litigation fund is in one of the PILT CIPs.
Okay.
For the TV district, I did fill in some numbers, which we should probably do for Debbie. On that one, it is a district, so we're kinda held to whatever the district brings in. But I can go through the numbers if you want, and then we can negotiate if you want. It's, adds up to about $600 less than last year, but again, it's a standalone fund, it's not gonna take anything from anyone else, and it can't be used for anyone else. But operating and supplies, said 2,000. Repair and maintenance, 200, and on down 50, 1,000, 0, 1,000, 100, 3,000, 1,000, 2,000, total of $10,400.
That's what comes in.
Should be less than last year because we got all those new channels and we're redoing the receivers this year.
And that was all paid for.
Yeah, this year it was paid for, yep. And in the fund, it grows every year. And Ann found the map telling us where the TV district lines are for DOC, or Department of Revenue.
Okay. Do we have any change, do we have a change in mill value, but we won't know what it is, and we won't have a change in mills?
We don't know. We will get all that at the beginning of August, but if we wait, first of all, the law says we have to start this now. But also, if we waited until the beginning of August, it would be just an awful week of a lot of overtime to get this done by the 30-day deadline. So what we do is we try and make an educated guess on where we'll be. We try and be cautious. And then if we get a pleasant surprise, then that's good news. And we always have a list of, additional desires that we can certainly fund. The only thing we know for sure is PILT.
And how much did we get from Phil?
Well, I guess I shouldn't say the only thing we know. We generally know in September what PILT will be. We know PILT was fully funded. It is based off a formula that takes into account 5 different things: population, valuation, acres of public land. Conservatively, about 550,000 is what we expect. Last year it was 618, the year before that 580. We did lose a little bit of federal land with the recreation land that we acquired, but that's not that many acres. But yeah, this year's an anomaly. We usually know that in September.
have anything? Did you get a time set up for a little work session, Brandon, or do we know?
Yeah, Wynn was kinda hoping on Thursday, and on your schedule, you said you were open on Thursday.
Hmm?
I know you added your dates, but I didn't catch if you had anything on Thursday.
Not that I know
Then I haven't heard from Franklin on a
I
meeting.
think that's this coming Thursday.
Yeah. I don't know what time, I was just trying to just get it out there. See what works
of.
best.
What's best for
everybody.
you guys?
I'm totally flexible, whatever, I'll make it work, so, the sheriff said Thursday would be good for him, so. I guess I'll leave it in your guys' court maybe for a time if Thursday's okay for the day.
Yeah, I'm good anytime.
I mean,
6 o'clock.
AM, PM?
What about starting in the morning?
Yeah, I would think we start in the morning, and then that's that way.
Okay, like 8 o'clock?
Yeah, 8 o'clock works.
Okay, now what's the date?
Thursday.
It's
Probably the 3rd or.
3rd, okay.
And if we could talk about the union negotiations at that time too, that would be good.
Yeah, that's fine,
Okay,
yeah, we can do that. Where at? Here, upstairs in our office, wherever you wanna go.
driver examiner is the 1st and 3rd Thursday? So
That's
this
the
room will
first.
not be available.
So we have our conference room that we can use, so.
Okay,
that work?
That'd work, yeah.
yeah. We tried to do that once before and Corey got upset because it's not open to the public. Does that matter to you?
Well, yeah, it's not necessarily just open, free to go, I mean, it is open if somebody were to buzz in and say they're there, however, it's a little crammed if a lot of people want to show up.
What about the
get you.
jury room? Could we do the jury room?
Yeah, probably, I could talk to Val
Okay.
and see.
I know yours is more comfortable, that jury room, that table makes me feel like a 5-year-old. It's about this tall when you sit at it. Like a little kid at their first Thanksgiving in a real chair.
Right. Yeah, I'll check on the jury room and then I'll email as soon as I find out, and then you guys can get it out to the public if need be, I guess, so.
Sounds good.
And is the union discussions between us, is that open to the public?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. Even our caucuses are.
okay.
But the union can meet in private to strategize.
Well, that's why I was wondering if you guys and us had an opportunity or what.
I think we should. I think we should, even if in a public meeting, I think we should still sit down and talk about what our expectations, which meetings are public.
Okay.
So we'll try to set an initial meeting date on Thursday with the union.
I would bet on Thursday we could have something,
Okay.
but I don't think we should meet with the union until we've had a chance to sit down together,
Yeah,
our
yeah.
team.
And that also has, should we not have a representative of the city also?
I think it'd be smart too,
Okay.
yeah. Because it affects them as well.
And we have a meeting scheduled with them for the 8th at 6:30 at City Hall.
Yeah.
What's the date on that one, Mike?
The 8th at 6:30. Do we have to put that, should we put that on our agenda or not?
Yeah,
Or we're just a working
Yeah.
meeting?
let's post it instead.
Okay. Okay, so we got anything else?
Not for me. Oh, no, not for me.
Okay, so we will adjourn at noon.